This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard with you live downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Loaded show on tap today. Of course, Thursday night football, player props, a couple of big games in college football, a really good NBA slate in my opinion. I'll share an NHL number later on that'll make your head spin. Paul Charching on the program in 30 minutes. The meat man, Steve Wiss, on soccer in an hour. And Brad Powers a little bit later on, college football. I'm intrigued by this game tonight, Pauly. And I've made a couple of bets on it, which we'll get to. But I have a tough time making the case to really go hog wild with this game tonight for several reasons. And now the Vikings here at Circa and at other books, DraftKings, FanDuel, some others are down to 2.5.
I don't get it. It's a great card, by the way. Two good college football games, a good
Tremendous
slate,
card.
good doubleheader in the NBA, 4 good NBA games. You're right. And the way the road favorites are kicking ass and taking names here, 16-2 run since week 5, can't get away from Minnesota. I'm surprised at the Rams' love. So, okay, you get cut back. You can't stop anything. You have a
terrible defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Raider game was alarming, what happened, that you're +3 in the turnover battle and have to hang on. So it is odd that McVay is bad with extended rest, but good on short rest. But I like the O'Connell-McVay matchup here. O'Connell being the OC when they won the Super Bowl. But, this goes back a long time, Mitch. And we've been doing a show for a long time. When Stafford plays a good team. And when Stafford plays a team with a winning record. So it was horrendous in Detroit. But, you got the Super Bowl ring. But since they got the ring, he's 2-14 straight up as a dog. And his career, he's 28%. I mean, think about that. So when he goes against a good team, he doesn't deliver. He usually turns it over. And I can't get away from the Vikings here. I think they should be able to move the ball, especially on the ground, and stick with the rushing attack, O'Connell, unlike what the Raiders did.
So that's exactly where I'm at with the game. And that's where I'm a little bit confused because this should be a spot tonight where the Vikings really just stay patient and gobble up this defense running the football. Now, I want to come at you and just go everything in here with Aaron Jones, but the problem is he might get dinged up and hurt by the first quarter. So then do you look at backup running backs tonight for the Vikings to maybe, even if like Jones doesn't get hurt, maybe there's a spot where they run for 200 yards and the backups are, flying over and maybe at any time touchdown would score in this game. Because the Rams rushing defense is 27th overall. They have the 28th worst power success rate against the ground game, and they're 29th in stuffed rate. So why can't this be a thing when you look at what other running backs have done to their defense so far this year? Montgomery in week 1, 17 for 91 and a touchdown. James Conner, 21 for $122 and a touchdown. Mason, 19 for 77. Swift, remember that was the week that Charge came on and said, you can't play the guy. He's been so bad, and he looked like that against the Rams defense. 16 for 93 and a touchdown. Jacobs had 19 and 73 for a touchdown. And last week, Madison had 23 for 92. I want to tell you that Aaron Jones over 15.5 carries is a great bet because in theory it should be. But I got two things going against that, and that could be O'Connell maybe gets a little impatient, doesn't stick with the run, and Jones could get banged up. So I haven't bet it yet, and I don't think I'm going to.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get the shot in the arm. You get, at least on a limited basis, you're supposed to get Hawkinson back. So that's big. And I don't believe this Puka stuff. I just think it's
Neither do I.
Yeah, I'm not buying the Puka stuff. DK and other places have him listed with props. And I think there's real value on a wide receiver, which we'll get to coming up. So it's a big show-me game for the Vikings, too. Suddenly, you lose this game, and the Minneapolis-Minnesota misery starts again. About woe is me, and here we go.
Well, if they lose, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a game you're supposed to win, and they're the better team. This is where I trust the coaching staff to get it done, and I just don't think the Rams are a good team. And I was watching Lombardi today, and Lombardi's right. If you lose this game, I would sell, fire sale, and start over.
Okay, we have breaking news since the show started. 15 seconds ago, Adam Schefter, the Rams have activated wide receiver Puka Nacua. Okay, wow.
Come on.
Off of the injured reserve list with the idea that they plan to play him tonight.
How much? I still want Tutu Atwell over.
They won't decide until pregame warm-ups how much he can play, but the plan is to play him. I already bet Atwell. That was one of my bets tonight.
Yeah, Atwell seems like a great bet. I don't understand it.
Boy, a lot of people were saying Nakua was not going to. Okay. And
yeah, I don't think he does much, though. I think he's hardly out there. So it's going to help us here to go 2-2 over 31 yards. 9 targets for 51 yards, 10 targets, 58 yards, 6 targets, 82 yards, 5 for 93, 4 for 48. I got to have 32 yards here.
I know. I bet over 31.5.
Yeah.
Also, there's this. The Vikings downgraded tight end T.J. Hawkinson to out for tonight's game.
Come on.
That's like within the last 5 minutes. Okay.
I thought, all right, Charts thought he's going to give it a go. They're going to get him on here. All right. Damn.
Now, how about this angle? Home underdogs on Thursday Night Football. And you can read all this every single week at VSiN.com, courtesy of the great Steve Makinen. They have been awful as of late. 4-20 straight up, 7-17 ATS, their last 24. Only averaging 14.7 points per game. There's also this angle. And see, here's where I think it's a lot of points in the game tonight. Mm-hmm. But I'm also conflicted again because the Rams' defense is so bad. And also, you can throw on the Vikings. The Rams are 13-4 under in primetime games. Vikings 21-11 under since 2015 in primetime spots. I think there's that path where, again, if O'Connell just says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go on 10-play drives. We're going to rush the football down their throats the entire game, and we're going to take plenty of time off the clock. Then it's going to be like, okay, and by the way, why can Kyren Williams not have a good game tonight?
Well,
because the Vikings are very difficult to run on?
Yeah, and they struggle 30th against the pass, mainstream stats. That's where, why is he 17.5 rushing attempts? He's gone over that every game but one. I'm with you there, too. But does McVay abandon the run? That seems like that should cash as well. So how worried are you with this Detroit thing?
Well, this is something else.
How freaked out are you by this? Are you not big on Minnesota because of this? It's hard to ignore. After playing the Lions.
See, yeah, here's the thing. Would you add how much of the handicap of the game overall would you add into this?
Right? I don't know. It's a short sample.
Right.
It's 0-4 straight up in ATS, failing to cover by 26 points per game. So whatever it is about biting kneecaps and bringing their A game and roughing people up, look at this. It's alarming.
Look at these scores.
41-10, Arizona Rams. 26-7, Broncos Buccaneers. Washington put it on Arizona, 42-14. And then the Giants and Seattle, 29-20. So it's one thing to be 0-4 straight up in ATS, but to miss the cover by 26 points per game? Oh, mama.
And by the way, it's a short week coming off of that game against the Lions for the Vikings, and they're traveling halfway across the country.
It used to be the Steelers. Teams always struggled after playing
That's right.
the Steelers because it'd be a physical game, and they'd beat you up. So here it's the Lions.
Okay, so here is also an angle for the game tonight. Opposing receivers, like the lead target of the game so far against the Rams on the year. Jamison Williams had 5 for 121 and a touchdown. I'm going to point this out for a reason. His longest reception was 52 yards. Marvin Harrison had 4 for 130. Longest catch, 60. Juwan Jennings, 11 for 175 and 3 scores. Longest catch, 34. Kraft had 4 for 88 and 2 touchdowns. Longest catch was 66. Reed had 4 for 78 and a 53-yard catch. Last week, Brock Bowers had 10 for 93. His longest was 25. If you go back and look at the longest reception by game for Justin Jefferson on the year, it's been 44, 97, 28, 27, 27, and 25. The number tonight is 26.5. Now they're looking at like the median number here and what that is overall, but when you factor in what opposing receivers have done who have killed the Rams, and there's a great angle here where JJ just goes completely hog wild in this game tonight.
Yep.
Maybe he gets one right away. It's like 48 yards. Mm-hmm. And I would not be surprised for a second.
Yeah, again, that's why I love the McVay-O'Connell angle.
Yeah, right.
The first question from Jefferson to O'Connell, how does Kupp get open every play? Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll show you. And he has delivered what he's done. What are we doing special teams and kicking?
Well, overall, when you look at DVOA, let me see here. Special teams, Minnesota's 11th. The Rams are 20th. So our buddy Peter, who's been tracking this all year long with the kickoff returns and the touchbacks, he said that these are two of the best teams in the league at touchbacks and not wanting to bring the ball out.
Will the opening kickoff be a touchback is $4?
$4.
Yeah.
And the total combined return kickoffs tonight is 2.5. Typically on every game this year, it's been 3.5. 2.5 tells you something, and he actually said it's still worth a bet in his opinion to go under 2.5.
Yeah, so hold your nose, but yep.
Oh, yeah, right.
With you there. Yep, I like each team touchdown and a field goal. It's $2. Touchdown and a field goal each half is 18-1, and first half is 3-1 for that.
If you like the Vikings enough, would you consider doing a contest play on them?
Can't do it.
Can't do it because you want to wait?
We must get to DraftKings out here. We must get it with the technology where I don't have to put every pick in if I play the Thursday game. DraftKings allows you to play the Thursday game and hold off on the other 4.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Look at the injury report. Look what's happened in the last 5 minutes.
I know.
Imagine what it's like Friday, Saturday.
I know.
The Will Levis thing and what happened when the Colts-Titans game, too.
That's right. Okay, so we have that. We got a bunch of NBA games tonight as well. Haven't done this yet either, but I'm very tempted to bet OKC on the money line. I do not like the offseason for the Nuggets. How could you? I think clearly OKC is a better basketball team than Denver going into the season.
Fans disappointed. Yep.
They do have some injuries, obviously.
Yep. Shouldn't happen.
But saw some comments today on how they're planning on attacking Denver tonight after the shoot-around. And I've made plenty of prop bets on this game tonight that we'll get to. But plus 110 OKC money line looks pretty good to me.
All right.
And then you want to lay 14 with the Celtics?
That's moved.
Or do you want to go team total? How about first half team total over 63.5?
That is a tough home opener, is it? I mean, you use that. Okay, yes. That's where everyone shows up, and it's the first game of the year, and then you're going to get buried. That's come on, play the Pistons or something. Play the Raptors. Don't have your home opener against the champs and your 14-point dog.
All right, Pauly's going to recap last night's betting action with Win Some, Lose Some coming up next. We have to talk about the Wall. It was an awesome debut in Clipperland, and we had one of the biggest upsets of the entire year last night.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Join us on a numbers game where Gil Alexander takes you on an informative and entertaining ride, focusing on the numbers that fuel today's bettors.
The Pittsburgh defense is amazing. I'm not doubting that. You think it's impressive, but you don't get how impressive it is. Okay, Mr. Football, we get it. Why do we bet baseball and tennis and other things? Because this league is Meshuggah.
He sets the table as the money comes in each day, helping you become a sharper bettor. Catch a numbers game weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
So, Pauly, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's Late Night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
last night?
Wow, winning.
Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
All right, here's what Mitch was talking about. They get their first ever win, FBS, Kennesaw State. 27-point dog to Liberty, won outright. Liberty also took money in that game, opened 24.5, closed 27. 27-point dog. Also going back, I think it's the third time in 23 years where a team that was 0-5 or worse beat a team that was 6-0 or better. What happened to this team?
Okay, so let me ask you: expectations way too high for the team, or are they the most disappointing team in the country?
Not even close. Yeah, we knew something was wrong when they almost lost to New Mexico State.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, though. Their expectations. I mean, they've been awful the entire year.
Yeah.
Despite, I shouldn't say awful because they were undefeated, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they blew people out last year and scored a ton of points. I can't believe it. And more losses are coming. Look at the schedule. Charlotte 3-1. They won outright and beat the Rockets.
Down 11 or 13 at halftime?
They were down 18 in the game. Sure, right. Subscribe, be part of the team, VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. How good is this? Ballmer is a genius. I watched the game last night. It was so good. This is the wall at the new Clippers Arena. 51 uninterrupted rows of seats. The first 13 rows are filled with Clipper fans whose fandom is vetted by the franchise beforehand. The fans in the first 13 rows are expected to stand and chant for the entire game and create a college student section atmosphere environment. You also get perks and points based on how loud you are and how often you cheer. And again, in the first 13 rows, Kevin Durant, 88% career free throw shooter, missed both. If the player misses both, you get free Chick-fil-A. And Booker also missed a free throw, and after the game, they said it's a big deal and a problem that you're staring into that. The design is awesome, all the way up, and just all 13. You saw Ballmer in there, too, dancing and doing the cheer. But the first 13 rows, they're acting like college kids.
So you really have to credit Ballmer, right? I mean, yes, it's hard to root for billionaires sometimes, but that dude loves his franchise so much that he put his brain and everybody who he knows and all of his connections together and all their brains and said, how can we create this atmosphere that's going to be great for the fans and a potential problem for opposing teams?
They have a home court advantage for the first time ever.
And they hit a home run.
They do. Yep.
And oh, by the way, I watched the Legler postgame with SVP last night as well. He was talking about being there, and they showed again like the wraparound screen that goes all the way around the arena, the technology. They hit this arena. I never want to go to an NBA game ever in person. I don't like attending games. I want to go to that arena.
Absolutely.
Looks absolutely amazing.
I don't think the prices are outrageous either.
I don't think so either.
It's $6 for a soda and like $12 for a beer. I was expecting a lot more.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if this was like on the broadcast done intentionally or not. I couldn't really even hear the broadcasters. Yeah. The fans were so loud.
Remember, they had to share that arena with the Kings and the Lakers. They always got the short end of the stick when it came to scheduling.
Yeah.
They had to play those stupid Sunday afternoon starts, and they got a home court advantage now.
Yep.
So now can they they blew the game too, but they got something here. Kawhi didn't play, obviously. How about Von Tobel, JVT? Got off the air last night, did a show with Tim Murray, Royale with cheese, $1,200. Dealt 4 to the Royal, bang, gets the Queen of Hearts. Here's to feeling good all the time. I stink when I get dealt 4 to the Royal. Stink. But he pops one on single play. There you go.
Great feeling.
And this one is called Excited to See Grandma and Grandpa. Look at the dog at the door. Look at the tail. He knows where he's going. Okay, going to Grandma's house, open the door, and they're sitting on the couch. He makes a beeline to him right in the living room. And there he is.
This is full-blown attack mode here.
Yes, just attacks him. Oh, it's so good.
Look at this.
One after another. Oh, he runs over him. Get that. Yep. Get ready for his toy. Jump right back up. What a feeling. He knows where he's going. So smart. Excellent. Yep. Lose some. Liberty 24.5 up to 27. Couldn't even win the game. Warriors, Blazers under. 226.5 down to 221. No shot. 139-104. Did you see this? Oregon State and Washington State. Next year's football schedule's out. They're playing one another twice in November, beginning and the end of the month. Come on. What are you doing? It's that hard to get schedule and get teams? It's a good matchup. I don't want Oregon State, Washington State twice in a month. Wow. That's crazy. Bad for the books. The Suns +1 went off a 5-point favorite after the Kawhi news. They won by 3. Rockets, Charlotte Hornets under, 234.5 down to 230, 110-105. Hawks Nets over, 220.5 up to 223. We liked it over, 120 to 116. It got there. Cam Thomas, huh?
36.
On 28 shots or something?
Yeah. The shots are going to be there.
Yes, come on. 50 to 1. Most points. Warriors. Well, listen, we told you. You couldn't recommend it yesterday when it got to 7, but it's going to be a long year for Portland. I mean, how about that for your home opener? Fans are gone in the third quarter. Warriors 3.5 up to 7.5, 139 to 104. We also said the Cavs are going to be good, but the Raptors could be awful, and I played them under 29 wins. Cavs and over, 3.5 up to 6.5, 218.5 up to 225.5. They scored 136 points and blew out Toronto.
Portland was so bad last night. I already circled games on their schedule. Like tomorrow night, they get New Orleans at home. There is a number up on it right now. Pelicans are 6.
That's okay. How about Murray? Is he out for the year?
Boy, what a freak injury that was.
Yep, Bulls Pelicans over 222.5 up to 225.5, 123-111. And the Bucks, big year for Doc Rivers. +4, went off a 4.5-point favorite. No George, no Embiid. It was tough because they were so bad when these guys were out. But Maxey did push the pace, but Milwaukee did whatever they wanted. 124 to 109. Bad beats, Clippers +1. Clippers money line. They led by 9 with 3 minutes left. They blew it. The under, 103-103. It goes over because of overtime. And the Rockets led by 18 and lost. Great job, guys. There you go. Win some, lose some.
Don't you think there's an angle here where the wall is going to be, I mean, we already had, as you pointed out, KD and Booker. I don't know what that was,
problem,
right? It's a problem.
Yeah, sure, they're not used to it.
Don't you think that maybe early on here, before Books can truly adjust, that game did go over, like you said, had no business going over. That was a dead under the entire time, looking at unders and Clippers games.
So what do you think of this now? That this might be a tough environment to make shots for both teams with the new arena and how maybe it's lined up. Is there something there?
Maybe.
I'm not talking about free throws, which I'm just talking about the whole game. That maybe there's something there where I'm staring at that basket.
Yeah, the backdrop's going to be a little bit difficult.
Happen.
No.
You don't get this in the NBA.
No.
It's brilliant. Where you're vetted, you're a hardcore fan, and you're expected to stand the whole game in the first 13 rows. That is good for him. It's brilliant. Hope it works out.
I'll give you some other observations from last night. Is Buddy Hield going to take 10, 12 threes a game?
Yeah.
For the Warriors?
Yeah.
Right? That's going to have to be his role with that offense, and they scored 139 last night, but I can't wait to see what his three-point prop is going to be on a daily basis. He had 5 in the game.
Good, yep. Sure. A lot of fun with the first night. Thomas was fun. That was an interesting game. Murray breaks his hand, and it appears that the Blazers are going to be a train wreck. I mean, come on. Golden State's not that good, and what happened. So fun night, and a good card tonight as well. And only 4 games. Sports Equinox special. Get it now. Great time to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. $120 to May 1st. VSiN.com/subscribe. Every best bet, every host, every guest. Steve Wiss coming up with the soccer plays and the betting splits data, the pro betting guides, college basketball guide out today. Get that. They did a great job. And you also get the Mackinnon betting systems. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get the dog videos, the hippo videos. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get it now. Sports Equinox special.
What do you make tonight of the Mavericks number at home to the Spurs? Dallas laying 8.5. There's actually a 9 out there right now. That's at DK.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too high.
Total's 228.
I think the Spurs are going to be feisty. They closed the season strong. You get Chris Paul, the veteran. You get Barnes. You get Castle in the draft. I think they'll be okay. I do like Wembanyama under 2.5 threes, though.
What do you think of his points? 25.5. That's
high, too.
It's a very high number, in my opinion.
But this could be great with Chris Paul with Lob City here, where Chris Paul with the alley-oops and the dunks to Wembanyama. So I thought they made a mistake, and they cost us dearly with Defensive Player of the Year, but how they used him early on last year. So I think they've adjusted, and I think the Spurs are going to be feisty, and that's too many points. And I'm anxious and interested to see what Klay Thompson looked like, too.
Yeah, sure. See, and also, how many minutes will Wemby get tonight in the game? Game 1 of the season? Is he going to play 42 minutes against the Mavericks? I highly doubt it. So getting to 25 points seems like a big ask out of him.
You think Westbrook's going to have 5 assists? 4.5 assists?
Oh, yeah. He's gone over that number, I think, in every game but one against the Thunder when he plays them.
How many minutes is he going to play?
Enough. They need him. They had a terrible offseason.
But I'm saying, if he's your answer, you're cooked. I can't believe the Kroenke's.
But also, I mean, you have to factor in the usage, though. And when Westbrook gets usage, he'll put up numbers. He will. He did that year, a couple years ago with the Clippers when they had some injuries. He was going for like 30 points in big games.
Didn't end well. Not good. Keeps jumping around. Disaster with the Lakers. Remember? They called him the vampire. Sucks the blood out of the locker room.
At Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian on the program coming up next. Can we start DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy this week? Better yet, can we bet on him?
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Every Thursday at this time, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian joins the program, guillotineleagues.com. Also, the podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Charch, always, I think we could talk to you about the game for 30 minutes tonight, but we'll get into fantasy and prop bets as well. How you feeling tonight?
Man, I'm in Minnesota, lifelong Viking fan. This just feels like such a good opportunity for the Vikings to just flex and just beat a bad opponent. This team has played so many good teams and especially good defenses. So the Vikings had a relatively easy matchup in week 1 against the Giants, and they killed them. And then after that, it's just been grinder after grinder after grinder for Minnesota. San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, the Jets, the Lions. I mean, some really, really good teams. Now you get the Rams, and granted, it looks like Puka Nacua is going to come back. Cooper Kupp fully expected to come back. So they're in a better spot, but this is still an injury-ravaged team, and I want to believe the Vikings that have staked leads in most of their games are going to be in a spot here where they just beat an inferior opponent cleanly. So that's where my mindset is right now. I don't have betting angles around that built. I'm prop guy. I've got a bunch of player props we'll talk about, but I want to believe the Vikings are going to end up flexing in this one.
Well, I want to ask you a couple of things then with the fantasy angle, I guess. We'll get to DeAndre Hopkins here in a second and what you can bank on with him this weekend, first game with the Chiefs. But Pauly and I were talking about Tutu Atwell in the first segment. This was before the news came down on Puka Nacua, and we read Schefter's tweet on the air. They don't know how much playing time he's going to get tonight.
Right.
But I think that was also factor into Atwell's yardage at 31.5. So, I mean, overall, what was your gut feeling 30 minutes ago when you saw that Nacua was going to play?
Right. And I had thought about Atwell because this is a leaky Vikings secondary, but where they're really leaky is the slot. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The outside receivers, it's a total mixed bag against Minnesota, where we've seen some outside receivers have really, really good games. And then like Jamison Williams last week does absolutely a -4 yards. So I felt like it was a high risk play before. Now I'm kind of out, and so I just feel like this, to me, I wouldn't put my money on this one. I've got many more bankable angles in this game than Tutu Atwell.
All right. So does McVay start with the run and keep the run with Williams, and his rushing attempts are 17.5? What do you think he decides to do with the game plan with the Rams, and if Williams can go off?
Yeah, Kyren Williams is a fascinating story. Quietly, he's having a Derrick Henry-like season with levels of usage that are insane. He has the highest snap percentage of any running back. He's got the highest carry percentage of any running back in the league. I mean, it's like him and Derrick Henry are 1 and 2 in these stats. But the Vikings' run defense is great. Now, they got blown up by Jahmyr Gibbs last week, but that's a massive aberration coming from an elite back playing for an elite offense. I don't think that's Kyren Williams here. Just if we go back the game before that for Minnesota, Breece Hall had 23 yards. Game before that, Josh Jacobs had 51 yards. The 17 carries on Kyren Williams feels pretty safe. It feels about right. I don't think I would play with that, but I'd consider the under on the 70.5 rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a little stat dump on Vikings defense. They see the fewest rushing plays in the NFL. They only give up 20 rushing plays per game, and that might factor into your 17 carries thought process. They rank 6th in run stuff win rate. The Vikings run defense ranks 4th in Pro Football Focus in run defense. They rank 2nd in yards before contact. They rank 2nd in run defense success rate and 5th in yards per carry. This is a great run defense. And I think anybody who's playing the highlights in their head of Jahmyr Gibbs from last week are not looking at the totality of just how good this Vikings defense has been throughout the entire season. So I would show a lot of caution on Kyren Williams, and I'd consider the under 70.5 rushing yards, although that's not my strongest take out of this game.
Okay, well then, so if a running back does go off tonight, it's going to be the other guy, right?
It is. Aaron Jones could be sitting on a big, big game here. For the Rams defense, every single opposing top runner has been over today's line of 69.5 yards, and by an average cushion of 22 spare yards on top of that, including last week, Alexander Mattison, 92 yards. Come on. I mean, if you feel good about that, along with the other 6 runners that have faced the Rams so far this year, that's a great opportunity. Aaron Jones looking like the only runner that Minnesota really trusts He got 40 snaps last Sunday. All the other Vikings runners combined got 6. And here's your stat dump on the Rams run defense. They're 25th in yards per rush allowed, almost 5. They're 26th in defensive run success rate. They're 27th in missed tackle rate, and they're 30th in yards after contact. And this Kevin O'Connell team has been way more balanced than most Vikings attacks have been. Previous seasons, Kevin O'Connell's been very pass heavy. That has not been the case here. This could be an Aaron Jones game for Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, it's screaming to bet him over 15.5 carries, by the way.
It is.
Every other opposing running back has gone over that number, and you just broke down the yards as well. So you would look at Jones, you'd like to fade Williams, but if you go somebody on the Rams, you're going to look at Kupp's receiving yards.
Let's talk Cooper Kupp. Now, the big variable on Kupp is we don't know what his snap count's going to be. I don't know. You don't know. Maybe the Rams don't know. So you're going to have to factor that in here. But what a glorious opportunity for Cooper Kupp. His line is sitting at 65.5 yards. The Vikings have allowed massive games to slot receivers this year. Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs running mostly from the slot, Jaden Reed, and last week, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all topped 94 yards. And again, our number here is 65.5. Minnesota guards the slot a couple of different ways, but their primary slot defender is Byron Murphy. Let me tell you a little bit about Byron Murphy. More than you ever wanted to know, but this is the only important thing. Out of 112 qualified cornerbacks, Byron Murphy ranks 112th in receptions allowed, 112th in yards allowed in his coverage, and 108th in yards after the catch allowed. That's Cooper Kupp's matchup against Byron Murphy. If Cooper Kupp is on the field enough, this looks like a fantastic opportunity. You just have to decide if you think Kupp's going to play.
Great breakdown. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian, and he is on the Progressive Guest line. So do you like DeAndre Hopkins this week in a matchup against the Raiders as much as you like Cooper Kupp tonight, potentially against the Vikings?
Well, let me start with this. You guys think, is DeAndre Hopkins, and this is not relevant for tonight, but do you think he's a Hall of Famer? And I'll tell you his numbers and his ranks in a second, but just you're casting a ballot right now. Do you think DeAndre Hopkins is a Hall of Famer?
Okay, without looking, my gut says no.
Pauly?
No.
I lean no, but he's going to be right on the fringe. 12-year career, 942 receptions makes him 19th. So he's 19th in receptions. He's 23rd all time in yards, and he's 33rd in touchdowns. There are only 2 eligible receivers with better numbers than DeAndre Hopkins who aren't in: Henry Ellard and Irving Fryer. Wow. Everybody else that's above him is pending to get in and probably will get in. So he's right on the cusp. As for tonight, this coming game, now that DeAndre is a member of the Chiefs, he's been mostly invisible this year. His average game's 2 catches for 28 yards. But in fairness, we don't know where the line is between him being cooked, which DeAndre Hopkins might be cooked, and he's just the victim of incredibly bad passing, or both, which could be the case as well. Both of those could be problems. Also factoring into consideration here, Juju Smith-Schuster's not going to play, and Sky Moore's already been ruled out. So they may have to push him into the starting lineup, not starting lineup, but they may have to put him on the field more than they would. Sometimes guys will join the Chiefs and they'll make an impact right away, like Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster earlier this year, but they were already on the team once and they already knew the Andy Reid system. DeAndre Hopkins coming in cold, I feel like there's just not going to be enough snaps for him to be a meaningful contributor here. We're going to see Justin Watson, and we're going to see Hardman, and we're going to see Xavier Worthy. I don't know. It feels like he's going to be on the field like 15 snaps, and to me, that's not going to be meaningful for DeAndre Hopkins.
Great breakdown. Excellent. If you ever get red hot betting and think your picks are worth money, like Charch last week, who swept the board with his props. Juice Reel, revolutionizing the way sports bettors buy and sell betting advice. You and everyone links their accounts into Juice Reel. All your history loads into the free app. Everyone's bets imported straight from the books. You're as good as your betting data says you are. Unlock the picks real talented bettors have their money on. Get paid real money when other people unlock your picks. Fully transparent betting advice from real people. Only on Juice Reel. Download for free, iPhone or Android. REEL. Grab your phone, download it now. Get the app Juice Reel.
Charge, can we confirm that? You were undefeated with us last week?
I believe I went 6 for 6 last week, and we also threw out this Mason Tipton one that we just started talking about middle of, we were just chatting about it on the fly. We're like, I could see him topping whatever 26 yards, and he managed to do that as well. So, yeah, that makes up for the 1 for 4 that I was in like week 4, and I'm still salty about that 1 for 4 performance. So, maybe that evens it out.
We have a lot of other prop bets to get to. Do you feel like you're chasing this week? Not chasing, but you think like you're like, okay, I'm pressing now because I had a great week, so now I got to go all in this week.
A lot of pressure. I need to go at least 6 for 6 this week, right?
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Tons of pressure.
Easy.
All right, so we'll find out who else he likes coming up and what does he expect from Tua and who is going to step up for the 49ers now with all their injuries.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
The only thing better than football is the excitement of all the contests. Catch the Circa Friday Football Invitational at 9 p.m. Eastern with picks from some of the sharpest bettors around the country. Then on Saturdays at 9, watch the Football Contest Show, where our expert hosts and guests go through the consensus choices for some of the biggest betting contests in the world. The fun doesn't stop there. Visit VSiN.com for the full lineup and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We continue with our buddy Paul Charchian, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer. Website is guillotineleagues.com. And the podcast is excellent, has been for a long, long time now, many years, called Fantasy Football Weekly. I started the year with 5 guillotine leagues. I got chopped after week 1 in one of them. Knock on wood, I'm still alive in the other 4.
Nice. Nicely done. That's not easy to do because we're about halfway.
Yeah.
So you're beating the odds on 4 to 5. That's great. That's great.
So let me ask you this. More player props to come here with Charch. He was undefeated last week. Hopefully that'll continue this week. Somebody dropped Jawan Jennings in one of my biggest fantasy leagues, and I had to do a triple take. I'm like, why? I know he might not play this week against the Cowboys, but why would you do that? Now with all of the injuries continue to mount up here for the 49ers, isn't he going to be the go-to guy?
Yeah, in all likelihood. I mean, Deebo Samuel will, obviously have his role going forward once he gets by pneumonia, but after this week, and then after the bye week, it's probably Jennings as a starting outside receiver and a go-to player. And this is a great time to buy low on Jawan Jennings while he's hurt here. Dude's good. I mean, there's also this. Jawan Jennings is a really good player. Great blocker on the field all the time because they love his blocking work. And the guy can catch, and he's really good after the catch. Dude's a player. So, I like that. But for this moment and in this week, the healthiest of the San Francisco receivers is the gunshot victim.
Yep.
Ricky Pearsall.
I know.
What's going on? So Deebo Samuel's got pneumonia. He's with the team, but he's not able to practice. At least that was yesterday. I haven't heard yet today. We don't have a lot of track record to go on with pneumonia for 28-year-old athletes. I know if it was my 81-year-old mother who had pneumonia, I'd be worried about whether or not she could host Thanksgiving. But Deebo Samuel, I want to believe he's going to be able to rebound pretty quickly, but I don't know. This is pretty uncharted territory. Ricky Pearsall, who led the team in snaps and routes run last week, looks like against Dallas, a very vulnerable secondary. It looks like he's going to be the go-to guy. As a reminder, before the Cowboys bye week, they played the Lions, and 4 different receivers either scored or topped 68 yards. Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond roasted the Cowboys. So Ricky Pearsall is an intriguing play. I was not able to find a line on him yet, but something to keep in mind for this week is Pearsall and see where this thing settles. If I were putting his line out, I'd be setting it about 55 yards, and I'd like to see where this thing ends up coming out. But I like him here a lot.
Okay.
That's way up there, yeah.
Do we finally get some life pumped into the Miami offense? Sorry, Pauly.
Yeah, well, Tyreek Hill said, attention fantasy fans, we're back now. Do you agree?
Okay. I'm the contrarian on this. Like, everybody in the industry is like, they've got Tyreek Hill ranked like wide receiver 3. They're just right back to where he was. And maybe it's that simple. But this Miami offense has been so bad without Tua. And I understand Tyler Huntley's not good. They went to a guy who was on the sofa, but you're the worst offense in the NFL, averaging 10 points per game. Is it possible that there's something more systemically wrong with Mike McDaniel in this offense and the offensive line than just one guy Tua is automatically going to fix? I don't know. I feel like I want to see a little bit more before I'm automatically on, well, this thing's right back to where we thought it was going to be in the preseason as one of the 5 best offenses in the league now that Tua's back. So I'm showing more caution than others, and I'm the contrarian on this. Most people feel like Tyreek Hill's just going to, hit the ground running, and it is Arizona. So, there's a pretty decent chance that he has a really nice game here.
Follow the money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Paul Charchian. By the way, you can follow him on X as well, at Paul Charchian. Podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly, and the website is guillotineleagues.com. What are you thinking here on a Thursday afternoon about who's going to start at quarterback for the Washington Commanders? And you've been all about this when there's a good receiver going against the Bears defense, but specifically one player, what to do with a player prop with Terry McLaurin.
Yep, and we've made money on this prop. I think 2 other times. We're going to try to make it 3 here. Arguably the best cornerback in the league is the Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson. He's fantastic, and here's how they deploy him. The Bears deploy him in scenarios where the opponent has one good wide receiver, and then he just shadows that receiver and just locks down that receiver. And that's Terry McLaurin. Here, the second, the drop off to the number 2 receiver is gigantic. In fact, most of your viewers and listeners don't even know who the number 2 receiver is. So that's going to be a big factor here. Jalen Johnson, on average, gives up 1.5 catches for 18 yards in his coverage.
Wow.
The Terry McLaurin line is 58.5 receiving yards. We're going to go way under that. Here's what opposing number 1 receivers have done against Chicago this year. Demarcus Robinson, 37 yards. Michael Pittman, 36 yards. Calvin Ridley got to 50 yards, but none of it was in Johnson's coverage. Deontay Johnson, 23 yards. And then last game, Brian Thomas had 27 yards. We hit the under on Johnson and Thomas in these last 2 Bears games. None of those guys anywhere near like the 58.5 receiving yards that Terry McLaurin is going to have to get to. So, and then, by the way, Marcus Mariota is going to be his quarterback. So, I mean, there's that as well. So, and how about this? One last thing on this, because I get excited about Jalen Johnson. I think he should be in defensive MVP conversation. His last 2 games, he's given up 5 receiving yards and 6 receiving yards in his coverage. That's it.
It seems pretty good.
Excellent.
Pretty good.
Great job. So 6-0 last week. Let's do it again. Jones over, Kupp over, Williams under, McLaurin under as well. So what happens now with Winston with Watson hurt and Cooper traded? Who catches balls here? What happens with this Cleveland offense and Dorsey calling the plays?
This might be my favorite of the props that I'm going to give you all segment here. Cedric Tillman is the emerging wide receiver that is running all the Amari Cooper routes. And when Cooper got traded, Tillman walked into 69 snaps last game, 82% of the routes, and 11 targets running the Amari Cooper routes last week. Now, Jameis Winston is the ultimate YOLO passer, right? Just throwing these bombs downfield, regardless of coverage. Cedric Tillman is this big-bodied sophomore receiver who can come down and win those contested catches. And you might be thinking, Pauly, but Charge, it's the Ravens defense. They're awesome. I'm scared. Hold me. Okay. It's weird, but Baltimore's secondary is just getting killed this year. Yeah. They're allowing the 3rd most yards to wide receivers, 178 yards per game. The over-under on Cedric Tillman is 36.5 receiving yards. I need 37 to hit the over. I've got a cushion of 171 yards. And it feels like a great opportunity. Here's the average line against Baltimore by the opposition's most targeted wideout. 7 catches, 93 yards, 0.7 touchdowns. The Ravens are favored by 8.5. This game script says all about passing with Winston in this game. Cedric Tillman is a fascinating play, and you might want to go well over the 36.5 receiving yards.
Oh, play the ladder game with him.
Play the ladder game with Cedric Tillman. I'd give it some real thought here.
Okay, so on the injury list, injury report this week, the Packers suddenly have a bunch of guys who are like, are they going to play? How bad are they dinged up? Let's see. So that number got to as high as 5 against Jacksonville. It's now down to 3.5 at several books. But we're expecting plenty of points here as the total is 49 or 49.5. So one would think that Jacksonville needs to keep up with the Packers in scoring points, right? How do you want to approach that from a Jaguar standpoint?
We're gonna key in on Jaguars tight end Evan Ingram. We're gonna look at it 2 ways: over 48.5 receiving yards, and the anytime touchdown is a pretty juicy plus 265. Since returning from his week 1 injury, Evan Ingram has been like the focal point of the whole Jacksonville offense. Well, the passing game. He's garnered a 31% and a 33% team target share. Those are gigantic numbers for any tight end. 15 targets the last 2 weeks for Jacksonville tight end Evan Ingram. And here's the Packers. They've allowed a tight end touchdown or over 50 yards or both to a tight end in 4 of the last 5 games. And Jacksonville's best receiver, Brian Thomas, he's got a thorny matchup with Jair Alexander and a suddenly surging Packers secondary. So alternate routes might be to go to Evan Ingram here. So we'll try the over on 48.5 receiving yards, try the anytime touchdown plus 265.
Yeah, by the way, I'm looking at the screen right now. It looks like a lot of people are seeing the same thing that you are, or they're listening right now to the show and hitting everything with Aaron Jones.
We're moving these lines, okay.
The rushing attempts prop now is up to 16.5, up 1 full carry. And the yards prop is moved from 68.5-ish to I'm seeing as high as 73.5 at some spots.
That's the power of follow the money right there. Look at this. Holy cow.
By the way, would you consider a ladder game with Jones as well? Like 80-90 or?
I would.
You would?
90 sounds like yeah. I would give that some thought. He had 90 last week. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd give that a little extra thought. And, I haven't looked at his anytime touchdown number was pretty low. I glanced at it. I want to say it was only like plus 125 or something. I don't remember. I don't have it in front of me. That didn't intrigue me as much, but it's in play here.
Oh, okay. All right, Charge.
Thank
Love
you.
talking to you, my man. That was awesome.
Thanks, friends.
Take care,
we'll
buddy.
talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care. There you go. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchin with us on the Progressive Guest Line. Up next, best bets in soccer from the Meat Man, Steve Wiss, coming up here on VSiN.
It's that magical time of year, the sports equinox, when all 4 major sports are in